The village was in a full panic as the heavy gunship landed in the fallow field by the territory's edge. The massive beast flew by fast overhead, then spun round and moved to land vertically in the field. Elders grabbed pitchforks and the hunters grabbed bows or whatever they could to defend themselves from what they perceived as an attack. It came in very low, barely grazing the tree line and almost giving half the forest a shave as it flew down. It circled again, then landed in the fallow field, a swarm of any able-bodied men in the village ready to meet it. They held their pitchforks high and readied their bows as the rear of the vehicle opened to reveal the daughter of the village chief smiling at them. Instead of a surprise attack by the mountain elves, Ceres. The weaponry held by the crowd slowly lowered as they tried to understand what was going on. She waved a hand at them and smiled. Her father, a burly, muscled old man with a sword and plate mail, stands there, arms crossed and brow furrowed as he notes his daughter's little smirk. He had seen that cute little smirk so many times through the 21 years he had known his little girl. It's a smirk that every father that has ever existed has seen at least once in his life. The cute little smirk that every child has at least once when they are caught with their hand in the cookie jar. The kind of smile that begs for no repercussions upon being discovered red-handed. The kind of smirk that says, "I'm cute, therefore I did nothing wrong." Ceres's father approached, arms crossed with furrowed brow. "And where have you been, young lady?" he bellowed as he met her gaze. Hi, father. What's up?" Ceres said, completely unsure of how to proceed. How could she proceed from here exactly? How exactly do you explain to your parent that you attempted to climb on a giant crab-spider war machine piloted by a member of a supposedly extinct species that built a giant continent-sized factory? Where does anyone start? A noise nearby announced the casual exit of Marcus, the helicopter's pilot, as his heavy boots hit the floor. He let out an annoyed groan and approached the rear of his vehicle. "Oh man, what a rush. Sorry about the low flyby there. Hit a bit of wind shear and it threw me off." Jaws hit the floor, as did various tools and weapons as this human stood in front of the group. Eyes went wide as he casually, as if this were an every occurrence, extended a hand to Ceres's father for a gentlemanly greeting. As if in a trance, the burly elf replied in kind and barely managed to stop himself from screaming. It was real and not a ghost. Greetings, human. What are you doing here?" "Rude. How about introductions first? Name's Marcus. Yours is?" Marcus said with a smile. "Thorn and Cardia Marinius. I am the chief of this village," he replied with his jaw still on the floor. "Huh? So you're an elf? Slightly shorter than I expected. No offense, just saying. Comfy spot you have here," Marcus said as he looked over the village. The assembled crowd carefully moved closer to inspect the strange machine. One of the farmers was about to touch a cylindrical object on the side of the wing when Marcus stopped him. "Do not touch the explosive device!" he loudly bellowed with more authority than he had any need to use. The farmer and surrounding persons quickly moved away from the wings, focusing more on the rest of the machine. Ceres quickly hugged her father, and the two shared a family moment. Thorn held his daughter close, calming her down. She was shaking, stressed, and otherwise scared. He knew all too well how his own little kitten behaved when she was scared or stressed and hugged it all out of her. "So, is there a king here, or where is the leader at? Apparently I need to find people that look important and have a chat with them," Marcus said. "What? I mean, I'm happy to take you to the kingdom, but I need an explanation of what's going on here," Thorn said as Ceres's grip loosened. "Look, I don't have the time, so here's the short story. I'm a human, but I was not born in this world. I came here, but now I have to go from here, but the scantily clad creature there says I can't go, so here I am, and I need to talk to the people in charge so I can figure out what to do. I really shouldn't. I should be out of here and in space broadcasting to the fleet, but hey, apparently I have more important things to do." Marcus's voice was full of resentment and frustration. Look, dude, I'm not in the mood. Get your ass on board and take me to the capital or king or whoever. I don't have much time. Ceres can fill you in. Hurry up!" Marcus's tone was becoming increasingly agitated, and everyone could tell. His anger was visible and audible, and everyone backed away. Ceres directed her father inside the vehicle and sat him on a chair. She showed Thorn how to use the headset and helmet as the screaming whine of the helicopter's engines roared to life. The peasantry felt amazed at how the massive beast of steel and machinery slowly lifted off the ground and quickly vanished over the horizon. The trip would last only 20 minutes as Ceres explained, somewhat feverishly, the circumstances to her father, who was now in a mild panic as they rapidly approached the kingdom. The two marveled at the sight of the capital's walls appearing beneath them, the first ever time anyone on SciFi has ever seen the kingdom from the air. Thorn's chest puffed out with pride as he saw the main kingdom of his proud homeland. "Funny, this place!" Marcus yelled out from the cockpit, his voice transmitting through their headsets. "For a bunch of wood elves, I expected a lot less stone battlements and castle walls." "We grew out of that a few thousand years ago, thanks to your ancestors, human. Wars between us made us rethink our own ancestry. The stone walls don't serve much of a purpose anymore," Thorn replied, his tone becoming somber. "Oh, that didn't sound nice. You'll have to explain that one when we get on the ground." "We are coming in for a landing," Marcus said as the vehicle slowed. "Land outside the castle walls. The capital is familiar with flying machines, but yours might cause an uproar. See that red spot marked by painted grass? Land there," Thorn said. "Copy that, hold on to something. This thing is a bit fiddly with landings," Marcus said as he deployed the landing gear. The gunship was moving a bit too fast for a decent landing. Ceres nearly lost her lunch from the G-forces as the gunship swiveled and swayed sideways and frontways as it slowed down. Thorn turned slightly pale as he glimpsed the ground from his window a bit too close for comfort. The gunship sank into the grassy ground a bit from its weight as it landed, the wind causing some other nearby machines to suffer a bit of damage or move from their own spots. Ceres and Thorn quickly unbuckled their seatbelts and returned their headsets. Thorn wobbled on his feet a bit before he exited and had to stop himself from kissing the ground. Several guardsmen and the owners of the surrounding machinery approached the strange vehicle. "Huh? Elven flying machines, wood, metal, oh, the steampunk fanboys will have a field day with this place. Friggin' clockwork planes and shit made out of wood and iron gears. Mountain elves have got to be my next port of call, that's for sure," Marcus said to himself as he got out of the cockpit. He was stopped in his tracks by an elf girl with stars in her eyes and a cutesy expression, this one wearing slightly more than Ceres, only slightly, though. Before she could say anything, Marcus stopped, turned, and faced his machine. Why, seriously, why? Why is there yet another abnormally hot half-naked elf chick? This is not a harem anime. He whined as he slammed his head against his vehicle's metal hull. Ceres stood beside the other girl as they both watched the spectacle. Guards and owners wandered over to find a human, an actual human, frustratingly bashing his head against a wall. The fact a human was here was enough to sate the ire of those nearby and send guards charging into the palace grounds to inform their commanders. Ceres and the new girl looked at each other. "It's a long story, just bear with it for now," Ceres said with a shy smirk. "Ceres Marinius," she said, extending a hand in friendship. "Jacqueline May Clan Stonewall, nice to meet you." She shook Ceres's hand with enthusiasm. Thorn quickly mustered the guard and told them to inform the palace an emergency meeting was needed. After a few of the locals gathered around the gunship, Marcus loudly yelled to not touch the weaponry again and let the crowd gawk at his toy. Marcus took stock of the situation and made some personal notes. Wood elves like Ceres were slightly taller and darker skin, sort of like a light tan. Mountain elves like Jacqueline had almost pale complexions. The scene around him resembled something like a comic con with a clockpunk elf theme, the various vehicles around him resembling early versions of flying machines that humans used to try before the Wright brothers did their thing. Except these worked. "So, hold up. You got flying machines and everything already. Why'd you appear with pitchforks and spears when I showed up?" Marcus asked Thorn. "What? Oh, relations with the various kingdoms are getting a bit strained of late. Not that we were expecting an attack, but better safe than sorry after all," Thorn said. Jacqueline looked up at him with sparkling eyes. "Hi." "And you?" Marcus asked. "How did you build that? What's it made of? Barkwood? Steel bark? How many gears are in it? What's the gear ratio? What's the max speed? It's barkwood, isn't it? Tell me! Jacqueline barked at him, coming uncomfortably close as she barraged the poor bastard with questions. Cease your fluffiness, Marcus bellowed, making Jacqueline back away. Everyone looked at each other, very confused. Cease your fluffiness? Marcus simply laid his head in his hands, defeated and slumped against his helicopter's hull. To answer your questions, oh overly excited one, I built in my factory. No, not barkwood, no, not steelwood. You sound less enthusiastic than I expected, Jacqueline responded, brow furrowed. No shit, Sherlock. Marcus groaned angrily and stood up. Let's just say because of all this nonsense, I am going to spend the next 6 months trapped in an office filling out more paperwork than anyone here will see in their lifetimes, Marcus said with visible anger. What is the meaning of this? A loud, very authoritative voice suddenly bellowed across the valley. Everyone dropped to their knees and bowed in the presence of the king as he walked up the hill. The tall elf man approached and scowled at the assembled crowd. His jaw hit the floor on spotting the very annoyed-looking Marcus, who at this point looked so very done. By the gods! It's true! An actual human! He exclaimed with shock. Yeah, blah, blah, friggin' blah. Look, dude, I'ma make something simple, Marcus said and got right up in the king's face. The elf girl will explain everything, show you how shit works. Please, can you just get in, sit down, and I can show you what's going on. Now, please, for the love of God, get in. I want to go home. Marcus bellowed angrily and pointed towards the rear hatch. Taken by surprise, the royal sheepishly nodded and walked into the back, taking a seat. A palace guard, Ceres and Thorn likewise entered, and Jacqueline appeared too, getting a seat before Marcus could object. He just sighed and strapped her into her seat. What are you doing here? The king said, addressing Jacqueline. So pretty, I'm not missing this, she replied with a sly smirk. Damn mountain elves and their machines. He rolled his eyes. Damn wood elves and their lack of machines, she replied, cheekily sticking her tongue out. Marcus raised a brow and winked. She's nice, feisty, he said and left, closing the door behind him. Marcus returned to his cockpit. His voice was straining. He was obviously becoming more stressed. Mic check, can everyone hear me? Yes, came the response. Lifting off. Man, was I cruel to puppies in a previous life to deserve this or something? I swear to God, he offhandedly said as the gunship lifted off the ground. Why are you so aggressive? The king asked. Because my bro, by staying here longer than I need to, I've broken no fewer than 32 articles of convention, 12 international rights laws, and 17 laws of the First Contact Protocol Amendment. To add insult to injury, the amount of paperwork I'm going to have to file because I was lied to, I'm going to be stuck in an office filing paperwork for the next 6 months while trying to avoid a prison sentence. That's fucking why, Marcus replied. The king simply bowed his head and remained silent.